All right, another episode of Addressing Rumors. This one is going to be on internet expansion, specifically the accusation that I'm stopping internet expansion. And it's so debatable because I would like to hit a lot of these things. There's so much important untruths on there, I know the video is mirrored, but so many things that are important to address on there. So it's weird to pick. But I got a while ago. This might be over a month ago now. I got an email, like a decent explanation from someone accusing me of stopping internet expansion. Specifically, that they had talked to someone from Comcast, and that the person from Comcast had said that the local government is stopping internet expansion. And so that's an important one to address, and it's one of those things that's the opposite of true, right? It's exactly the opposite of true. And so when I come in, we had the money, the talk about the discussion of the money coming from the feds, ARPA, and as that money was coming down, it was obviously a political move at the high level, and then they were making up the rules and the ideas later. The first set was that it's only going to be used for water expansion, sewer expansion, internet expansion, or employee bonuses, right? And that was basically it. And water and sewer expansion are so expensive that $846,000 isn't really going to go very far, which means there's going to be some sort of debt associated with it. We'll probably have to take out a bond, do a special assessment, and Dalton is still trying to financially recover from the sewer project on Whitehall Road from 2006, right? I'll basically have the township back on financial track for the first time since 2006 when that project went in. And so that we don't want to step into another mess, as I'm still trying to solve the last one from decades ago. And I was like, internet would probably be the way to go and fill that in. And it's needed, people are doing more online schooling, more online work, and there's still some dead zones. And the population is getting enough in Dalton, right? 9,586, I believe, was in the last census. And so it would make sense, to not have these dead spots. And I figured it was a calculation of some sort, and there were just kind of gaps, and they're like, well, we can't really fill them, so maybe if the township added some money to it, those could be stretched enough that we would get internet access, and then we'd be good moving forward. Now, I had reached out to Charter and Comcast both said that it's their policy that once the number of houses get so dense in a certain area, it makes financial sense. They run the calculation. It makes financial sense for them to run those lines, and then they do. And they figure if you're running the lines above ground or if you're running the lines below ground, they cost different. Below ground costs more, and there's a range that it could cost, and I'm sure these costs are going up because when I discussed this, it was probably a handful of months ago, but anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000 a mile, which seems like a lot. I thought that was going to be less, but I talked to them and they said that. So I wanted to see who would be interested in expanding with this idea of maybe using the ARPA funds and at least have some numbers to bring to the board. That was my whole goal, so it could be a discussion at first. And, Comcast literally laughed at me because it's not very much money. The guy had said that unless you have millions of dollars, it's kind of pointless for them to do anything. I'm like, well, so I figured we need some competitors. And it's against the state constitution to have an exclusive agreement with utility like that because we have two franchise agreements, right, with Charter and Comcast. And so I was like, well, if those exclude other internet providers from coming in, that puts us in bad shape. And that would be a bad thing to do. And those were signed just a little bit before I came in 2019, I believe. Maybe a little difference in year between them. But they were signed for 10 years. So they're going to be after I'm done here. And that could have put us in bad shape, but because of the Constitution not allowing exclusive agreements to be signed like that, other internet providers could come in. And so I reached out to 13 other companies I could find in the area, and I stretched for the 13. I looked at the companies that they shoot internet through the air and different things, and I got a no from several of them, and didn't get a response from a few of them. I think I even reached out to a special service that they have just in Newaygo, and I'm like, Dalton, you just have to come through like Holton, Cedar Creek, and then you're into Dalton. It's not too far. And they were like, yeah, we're just for Newaygo County. I was like, all right, fair enough. I got one lead that was West Michigan Broadband, and they came in, they talked to me, said, all right, well, if the township would be interested in maybe putting this into those ARPA funds, it might make sense for us to do. And so they were supposed to drop a proposal, but then they ended up deciding not to. So I got exactly 0 proposals. Now, I'd been working since my first couple of months in to get a map of the service areas in Dalton Township. These are highly proprietary. They say in the bottom that they're very confidential. I can't even copy them. I can't even show them to anyone else. And otherwise I have a tendency to release things. So it's good that they were so upfront about that. And basically, we'll sue you if you show this to anyone. And I asked why that is, and they said they do have people that go out and accidentally their lines get cut sometimes when other utilities are happening and stuff like that. But they said they will have people purposefully go out and mess with the lines, and that, I guess, seems reasonable at that point to keep it a little more proprietary. Although, if someone really wanted to, it seems like they could find the lines. But nevertheless, and so I inquired into getting these maps. Now, I got the one from Charter fairly quick and easy. It's not very good, but it shows it, and it's up in the Village of Lakewood Club area, and then expands out across the top of the township and down and across Riley Thompson a little bit, in that basic region. And Comcast had it in the mail, and it didn't come, and then I contacted them again, and then it was in the mail again, and then it didn't come, and then I contacted them again, and then it was in the mail again, and somewhere between 3 and 5 times, I was like, all right, well, this thing is never coming for whatever reason. And I contacted just probably a handful of months ago, the Utilities Commission through the state, which I was talking to someone had come in to do some things at the township, and I was talking to them, and they just mentioned, maybe you should reach out to the state agency about it. So I reached out to the Utilities Commission, and I wasn't even reporting them or anything, and just said, it'd be nice if I had this map. Do you guys have a map? Did they file a map with you? Could you send that to me? And asked him, I think I asked him one more question about something, and that apparently went through like a major complaint. And so I believe it was a day or two later, I got a message from the vice president of government relations for Comcast, something like that, who's over the regional manager, who's the one I had talked to before. And the regional manager covers a few states. He covers here, I think he covers Kentucky, maybe 1 or 2 other states. And so pretty big areas, and you're at a high point there. And so then he came in, and I had a meeting with him here, a physical meeting, and just kind of explaining, it'd be nice to have a map. It'd be nice to at least have some numbers drawn up, and even if we can't reach them, it'd be nice to know what those numbers are, so I can at least look at them. And I realize it takes them time and everything, but still kind of important, from Dalton Township's perspective. And so what I did is, because I can't share their maps with each other, but what I attempted to do was figure out where the non-serviced areas between the two and make my own little map of non-serviced areas, and I sent that into Comcast to draw up a plan on that. Now, it's been a couple of months, I think, since then, and I haven't heard anything back on that. And I don't, as things have gone, I don't really expect to. And they're just not interested in it. So all the leads have not gone anywhere. They're doing a thing through the county, through municipalities together, and sending out surveys and stuff like that. And it seems, I went to a couple of the meetings, not a ton. It seems like one of those things where they're probably going to do a lot of investigation, probably spend a decent amount of money sending out mailers and stuff like this to do the investigation, to find that there is a need in the rural area, but there's a greater need in the urban area. So if they're going to put money anywhere, it's probably going to go towards the dense population. So out of that, I wouldn't be surprised if better internet service comes to the cities in Muskegon somewhere, but unlikely to reach out here into Dalton and Fruitland and Blue Lake and Holton and Cedar Creek and these types of places. So, because that's often how it goes. And so we've really hit the point where all the leads have basically fizzled out. And so I got in this email, and I'm like, like who's spreading this rumor about me? It's literally the opposite of true. I've done all this stuff to try to expand internet service in Dalton Township. And so I had messaged them back, and I'm like, well, that's a lie. I would appreciate knowing who's lying about me. And she said she had talked to one of the Comcast guys, one of the installers and stuff. And I was like, well, if I could get his information. And I got his information. And so I gave him a call, and I'm like, why are you saying this? And it was just a misunderstanding. He didn't know how, like, the approvals happen at the higher level and stuff. But he thought, well, Comcast would be interested in expanding, which was, what I thought as well. And so if someone's holding it up, it must be the local government. So he just kind of did his own deduction, which just ended up being the opposite of true. And so we worked that out. But I don't know how far this had spread. I got, I've had a bunch of complaints about not having internet service in a given area, and that's why I've been working on this to try to fix that, or try to get a lead that could possibly fix it. And so that's an important one to address, I think, and I don't think it's going anywhere. We'll see if I ever hear of plans from Comcast on that, but the initial indications that it would be this huge amount, and then by the time we have to start spending the ARPA funds and getting that allocated and stuff too. So if they just delay long enough, then it'll just be gone. Now there are internet expansions coming. So this is the word I got from Comcast, and actually that's probably a shareable little picture. It's a horrible little map, but I believe that one is shareable. And I think I might have even included it in a packet at one point, because I brought up the internet a few times in the public meetings, the board meetings. And there's two little sections that Comcast plans on expanding into in the following years. And then there's one little area that one of those wireless companies that shoots internet through, rather than through lines, they broadcast it. They're going to be expanding here through a state or federal grant type of program. Comcast didn't qualify for that program, apparently. They said that's why they didn't do it. Now, that isn't going, it's going to happen near future. They said, the soonest that it'll probably happen is 2025. So probably about, the year after I'm out of office, we'll probably see 3 areas get some expanded access for internet. But at this point, those are my best leads and my best news, my best news on the internet situation. Other than that, if anyone had a contact in a company that would be willing to expand, feel free to reach out, and I'd certainly be willing to talk to them. I think I followed up with all those possibilities, but you never know, I might have missed something. So if anyone else has anything else, either something positive that's happening that they kind of want spotlighted, or a rumor that they've been hearing, or something bad, which obviously I've got, there's a decent amount of stuff to go through, but if there's anything else, feel free to reach out at any time. My phone number is area code 231-332-6700. That's the direct line here in the office. And then my email is supervisor@daltontownship.org or jeffrey.martin@daltontownship.org. Until next time, this is Jeff signing off.